Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. I don't think it's going to surprise anybody that I have a few things to say about the incidents in Liverpool on Monday, and I'd imagine a lot of people have been expecting me to do so. Unlike some of the people I'm going to mention in this video, I thought it best to let a little bit of time pass and see which information was released by the police and observe the reactions of people around the country. I'm sure most of you know the story, but just to recap, on the 26th of May, a 53-year-old man followed ambulance through the cordons during the Liverpool FC victory parade and proceeded to deliberately ram his Ford Galaxy into gathered crowds, injuring 79 people. 50 people were taken to hospital, including 4 children. One of the children and one other person had serious injuries, and Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service added that 4 people were trapped beneath the vehicle and had to be removed, including one child. It took until 9:30 to clear the scene, and many of those who weren't injured were still left recovering from the traumatic scenes they'd witnessed. Obviously, many prominent figures have stepped up to express their feelings, with King Charles saying, "The strength of community spirit for which Liverpool is renowned will be a comfort and support to those in need," which is certainly true. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer gave a statement adding, "The whole country stands with Liverpool," which is also true of many, and it is encouraging to hear. But it seemed the first thought on the minds of some was not to stand in solidarity with the Scousers, but to speculate, ruminate and perpetuate the kind of malicious information that was shared after the Southport attack and led to the Farage riots. Let's have a little look at a few of these lazy-brained buffoons and see what conclusions we can draw about the state of our nation's collective intelligence from them right after this. I was just looking at my channel analytics and I noticed that 53% of people who watch my videos weren't subscribed. The pain. Come on, just have a quick check that you've subbed, liked and rang the bell. Make a skinny old Scouser a little bit happier today. Sadly, I didn't have the forethought to save some of the stupidest and most unhinged reactions I saw on Monday night. My brother and 3 of his children were actually at the parade, but thankfully they were unharmed, and I was still recovering from my birthday weekend celebrations. But while diligently doom scrolling, I certainly saw some of the dumbest things from the daftest people I've seen on any social media for a long time. Due to the fact that raging idiots, gammon-faced goons and racist morons rioted on the streets as a result of Nigel Farage's deliberate disinformation after the Southport incident, the police felt pressured to release the ethnicity and nationality of the perpetrator as soon as possible. That in itself is something that should shame our nation, but even that wasn't enough for the followers of Farage and Tommy's twats, and they were going to make it known that they weren't happy or smart. And despite the police issuing their statements and hundreds if not thousands of people on the scene witnessing the actual events and being able to confirm the accuracy of the police's statement, these brainwashed ingrate cretins are still out there even today, leaving comments like this on every news report about the incident. Robert Jr. stepped up to say, "The man behind the wheel didn't look British to me, nor did he look like he was 53. I may be wrong." I'm glad you've acknowledged that you might be wrong, Robert, because you definitely fucking are, you absolute helmet. And this one isn't even relevant, but the sheer stupidity of it highlights just how far the regressive rabbit hole has swallowed up the UK public. This absolutely pointless pile of pond life shite called Philip Coogan said, "Everyone in the comments fully vaccinated. Has to be." Shut up, you fucking thick bellend. Get back in the sea and don't get out for a million years. That might be just enough time for you to evolve a couple of brain cells. For fuck's sake. Elaine Quinn managed to prove she's a fuckwitted failure of a human, gargling the bollocks of stupidity with just 4 words. "Probably an Islamic convert." No, Elaine, probably not. In fact, almost certainly not, you stupid, gullible, easily fooled fucking waste of space. Do you have kids, Elaine? How do you think they feel when they see their mother saying the dumbest shit in the comment sections over and over? I'd guess they're very, very ashamed to be born of such a blatant buffoon. These just annoy me too much, and there's just one more that I want to share with you that actually did give me a giggle in a dark time. God knows it was needed. Deepak said, "The comments are literally a CSI Gammon episode." Indeed they are, Deepak. Well said, mate. But let's move on from the infuriating imbeciles and brain-rotted bumfudges, because I put Farage and Robinson in the thumbnail, and I want to explain just why. I entitled this video, "Look What They Did," because we all know who is to blame for the fact that half of the British public seem to have been brainwashed into fucking idiots. And it's been going on for a long time. It started with the Tories, obviously, and obnoxiously, but Farage and fellow fuckwits have run with it to such an extent that any event or incident is now drenched in backward stupidity. I think Elaine is a good example. Must be an Islamic convert. Utterly indoctrinated, completely consumed by the hatred sold to them as real life by the likes of Farage and Robinson. Within a few minutes of the event, I saw people like her spewing their hateful ignorance all over social media. But she is just a brainless product of the worst they have to offer. The creators of Farage and Robinson and Braverman and Priti Patel and Lee Anderson and Boris fucking Johnson, all the usual rogues. The police, as soon as they could, put out the nationality and skin colour of the perpetrator. Yet we all know for a fact if they hadn't, Froggy Farage would have been on Twitter before the end of the night, just asking questions and hoping that the answer to those questions was that it was a terror attack by an asylum-seeking Muslim, because he's carefully and deliberately cultivated a mindset amongst his followers, and it serves his ideology very well for them to think that. They are the very reason that the police had to put out the nationality and skin colour of the perpetrator. Because last time something major happened and Robinson and Farage dived headfirst in, spewing misinformation, it caused days of riots and hundreds of millions of pounds worth of damage up and down the country. That's why we call them the Farage riots. Remember though, and it can't be said enough, Farage is a horrible man, but he's not an idiot. And when he was just asking questions, he already knew the answer to them questions. You can ask questions without actually wanting to hear the answer. The point wasn't to get an answer, it was to provoke a reaction. He got his reaction, and it's ruined the very fabric of our society and damaged the most basic level of trust that a lot of people have in our police forces, our courts and our government processes. I'd like to make a point before I move on and wrap up. As I've said before, I follow a lot of what is happening in the US, and I remember seeing Adam Mockler, a US Democrat supporter, interviewing a MAGA idiot just days before the US election. He suggested it had reached a point where they literally trusted nothing and nobody except Trump. The red-hatted twat he was speaking to insisted this was not the case. So Adam went through a few things. Do you trust the police? No. Do you trust the courts? No. Do you trust the judiciary process? No. Do you trust any of the Democrats? No. Everything Adam asked about, he said he no longer trusted. Everything except the word of Donald Trump. I've seen the same thing here in the past few days. I imagine if I got hold of one of these ignoramuses and questioned them in the same way, I'd get the same reaction. Do you trust the police? No, they're liars. Do you trust the court? No, they imprisoned our Tommy. Do you trust the media? No, they're too left-wing. Do you trust anybody except Nigel or Tommy? No, they're the only ones speaking the truth. They tell it like it is. It's a conversational dead end. You can't prove anything to somebody who has decided that the only person they can believe is the person that's made them think everyone and everything else is untrustworthy. I recently mentioned the Southport attacks to a friend of mine who's usually quite smart, and I couldn't believe the answer I got. Well, it was just one of those boathead pricks, wasn't it? They tried to say he was a black kid from Wales, but we all know what really happened. It was a fucking Muslim boat prick, and you're not going to tell me otherwise. What do you do with that? What do you do about that? How do you talk to a person who thinks like that? Who has decided the only person they believe is a person that you and me know tells them blatant fucking lies every single day. The scary thing is, it's not just a conversational dead end, it's a social dead end too. It's leading us to a society of stupidity and ignorance, with Nigel Farage cheerleading the way into obscurity and confusion. And after seeing the reaction to the Liverpool incident, and knowing that the people we're expecting to solve this problem is Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, I think we'll be hitting that dead end about 2029 when we crown King Nigel of Froggage. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. I'm sorry I couldn't come to a more cheery conclusion at the end there, but I don't think there is necessarily a cheery conclusion we can draw from this latest chapter in the downfall of intelligence in the UK. I was quite pleased to see a poll released from YouGov a few days ago that showed Farage is the least popular amongst all party leaders, and I was pleased to see that despite the continual attacks by the media and the Tories and Reform, and some of the staggeringly stupid decisions he's made, most people do still favour Keir Starmer as the Prime Minister over Nigel Farage. But there's 4 years to go, and we know that the media will be treating Fartage, leader of the fuckwitted, as if he's already the Prime Minister for most of that time. How many minds will they change, and when the fuck is Keir Starmer going to do something about it? I could sit here and rage for hours about this, but it wouldn't change anything. You might be entertained, but I'd be angry and upset, and I've got to try and get on with my life when I switch that camera off. I think I'll take a few days away from Facebook and Twitter, but you'll definitely be seeing what I've got to say here anyway. With that in mind, if you want to support the channel, you'll find the links to PayPal, Patreon and the Buy Me a Coffee page mourning the death of integrity in the descriptions box, and the join button for memberships is, as always, below. Now that isn't all I have to say, but it's definitely as much of what I've got to say as I can bear to say today. Ta-ra-la. Quite cheerful, Annie. Show everyone your little baggy stump. Show your little baggy stump. Little baggy stump on a little baggy dog. Little stumpy dog. Yeah. Maybe that'll cheer everybody up, seeing a little baggy one. Eh? Little baggy one. Little baggy one. Yeah. Oh, good girl.